Welcome back. Now, right before I step into puberty and start talking about periods and breasts, I'd like to conclude the narration of my childhood era with an ode to the jamun tree. This jamun tree had been a fixture in my life ever since I was 5 years old and had moved to Bombay. This was just next to my building. Every summer, we delighted in walking around under the tree and searching for jamuns, which are also called Java plums or Indian blackberries. The unique, astringent yet super sweet deliciousness that is packed in a single little berry has to be experienced to be known. It is simply beyond description. And most jamuns that we see with vendors on the streets can't hold a candle to the smaller yet sweeter jamuns that don't make it to the markets. The berries are so soft and mushy that they get squished when they fall off the tree. And yet, when we try and pluck these berries before their time, they're simply not as sweet or soft. I've seen so many people shake the tree or poke it with a stick to make the jamuns fall off. And yet, the tree is so generous that when it is peak season, the slightest breeze sends a cascade of these berries to the ground. Those are the ripest ones, worthy of being eaten. When the tree is completely laden, a steady stream of berries falls like raindrops. Jamuns grow in bunches, and unlike banana bunches, they don't ripen all together. They ripen in order, with the berries at the top of the bunch ripening first and the lower, newer berries ripening last. So an entire bunch is not ready for harvesting at the same time. That is why it doesn't make sense to pluck jamuns, in my opinion. Plucking off entire bunches prevents the tree from making the fruit available for a longer period of time. I always feel a little sad when I see raw jamuns plucked off and then discarded. Unlike mangoes, raw jamuns are simply not edible. As a 5-year-old, I loved foraging for jamuns. One day I ran out to collect jamuns wearing a brand new frock that mom had just stitched for me. It was an off-white frock. When I looked around under the tree, there were way too many jamuns to be collected. So I did the only sensible thing that a 5-year-old girl would do. I folded the front of my frock to make a kind of stopgap pouch and collected all the jamuns into it. The juice leaked through and stained the front of my dress. At this time, I did not know that jamun stains on clothes are permanent. Later, when I got home, mom looked at my frock and asked me to carry a little baggie the next time I went to forage for any dark, juicy berries. The stains never did leave my frock, and I wore it with the stains as a badge of honor to mark the day that I had collected the most jamuns possible. Another day that I fondly remember is when some of the older boys climbed on the tree and shook the branches vigorously for us little kids. We delighted in running around trying to outrace each other in collecting as many jamuns as we could. At this time, I had started carrying little baggies to collect them. Many a pleasant evening was spent wandering around under the jamun tree, talking to friends, and just walking around in the hope of spotting just one more jamun before it was time to go back home. Imagine my dismay then when one day I saw a crew of workers climb the tree and start to dismantle it one branch at a time. I was shocked and could not believe that this tree was being chopped off to make way for yet another building. We always knew that Godrej had permission to construct another 4 buildings in addition to the 4 that already stood in Hillside Soaps section. But we did not realize that the day would come so soon. This was the only jamun tree in the entire hillside, and to my knowledge in the entire Godrej complex. As far as I know, it was there before Godrej even acquired the land, a truly native tree. And now to see it stacked neatly as several pieces of wood broke my heart. We watched from our balcony and cried silently. We cried for our beloved tree. We cried for our childhood. We cried for the end of innocence. Along with this decision by the company, also came the decision to remove all private gardens that residents had planted. There would be lawns instead. My parents asked for permission to extend the removal of the garden by a couple of weeks so that we could figure out where to move our plants and at least have their cuttings before they were removed. We had a mulberry tree, strawberry plants, and several flowering plants, including a coveted collection of rarely available roses. We had lovingly nurtured the garden for years, happily coexisting with our garden snake. Yes, a garden snake. We knew that the snake lived there. It did not bother us and we did not bother it. And so it went on for several years. It appalls me now when housing societies are so quick to eliminate any snake that they see. The poor snake comes out when the rain floods its burrows. And then people panic and kill them, even the non-venomous ones. Anyway, back to the garden. Even after agreeing to postpone the removal of our garden by a couple of weeks, just 2 days after notifying us, our entire garden was razed. It was just removed, and we just looked on surprised. We did not get a chance to save any plant. All of them were trashed. This marked the end of an era, the end of my childhood as I knew it. Pure, sweet, and innocent. Dear Jamun tree, I will never forget you and the joy you brought me and my friends. I will always cherish you as a symbol of sweet childhood. Adolescence would bring new trials and tribulations. Never again would I know the pure, sweet innocence that only a child can experience. And that is why one of my favorite songs is Return to Innocence. Next time I'll tell you about stepping into adolescence completely unprepared. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy. Bye for now.